It didn't take long. Within the first hour of being at Walgreens on Geary Boulevard and 17th Avenue in San Francisco, we witnessed multiple shoplifters. One of them even took the time to explain why he simply didn't pay.
San Francisco, bro.
You know, I talk a lot about retail theft on this channel. I go over the numbers, I go over individual instances, and I go over the store closures and the reactions, the security measures that you would think would be more akin to a bank rather than a regular pharmacy that many of us have encountered in our day-to-day lives, because it's that absurd. And to hear somebody say straight up the reason why he's not paying for something is due to the fact that it's San Francisco really goes to show you how far we've gotten in not prosecuting retail theft, how far retail theft has gotten out of control, and of course, that doesn't even factor in the organized retail theft rings that have been busted that we've talked about, where people are stealing stuff and end up with $8 million worth of merchandise that has to be put in an evidence warehouse due to the fact that this problem has gotten completely out of hand. However, this story out of San Francisco of what they're doing now in order to deal with this, which goes beyond almost the whole store being behind glass, like that Target that we saw, by the way, also in San Francisco, really goes to show you how insane it's actually getting. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up. actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to my podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Multiple shoplifters. One of them even took the time to explain why he simply didn't pay.
San Francisco, bro.
Off camera, a Walgreens employee told me they're hit anywhere between 15 to 20 times a day. Out of frustration, a week and a half ago, they decided to chain up their freezer section. This is one of the hardest hit areas in their store. Now, when you want something, you have to press this button. A message goes off on the overhead speaker, and an employee comes to unlock the freezer.
Think about how ridiculous that is. For the longest time in the United States of America, when we've had ebbs and flows of crime going up, although it's mostly been going down in the past couple of decades, we didn't see stores chaining up their merchandise with big ass locks like we see right here in this video. However, in San Francisco, one of the wealthiest cities, the home of Silicon Valley, where you would think things wouldn't be like this, this is what they have to resort to. It's beyond putting half the store or almost all the store behind glass. Now there has to be a chain there. They install a button there, so people have to come over and open it when you want to get a drink, when you want to get an ice cream, when you want to get whatever. This is how out of hand things have gotten in the city of San Francisco. And by the way, this can mostly be attributed to the state of California going soft on retail thieves, reclassifying these crimes and not going after serial offenders who consistently repeat offend. Now we're in this level of trying to operate a business in the city of San Francisco.
According to the employee we spoke to, company policy says they can't challenge shoplifters, but this customer has.
Sometimes I've stopped people myself, and it just frustrates me so much to see the neighborhood fall apart and to have to ask somebody to, unlock things.
So here you have a resident of San Francisco, and I hope he's voting differently than is typical in the city of San Francisco, who's just sick of it. He ends up confronting shoplifters, and he doesn't want to go to a store where everything is chained up. And that's the thing. If you're one of these retail giants like Walgreens, like Target, you're essentially competing against your experience being so horrible that people want to just order things from Amazon. Now, luckily, I guess if you're Walgreens or Target, San Francisco also happens to be one of the largest places in the country in terms of package theft incidents. So that also is a thing that essentially doesn't 100% throw this over to Amazon. But as you can see throughout this segment, every single section has stuff locked up behind the glass, and the response to that being locked up behind the glass, which is actually plastic, whatever, locked up behind the plastic, is another thing that we've been noticing on other various videos.
Almost every aisle has products locked behind plastic cases. We asked what the brown marks were. Turns out shoplifters have tried to burn the cases.
So yeah, they put up the plastic, they block off all the things, and if you don't know, these are very data-driven stores, so whatever's behind the plastic is currently what's being stolen the most, and people take blow torches. They try to set these things on fire in order to get the merchandise from beyond it. Now, there's a viral video documenting this phenomena. I actually believe it's out of New York City, but here's an idea of what's going on. Somebody shows up with a blowtorch in order to get the merchandise.
This vendor saw 4 shoplifters in the couple of hours he was working at the store today.
They just help themselves. It's a common thing. The problem is they're not punished.
He did not want his face on camera, but said he detained 8 people shoplifting yesterday.
People were entering the store and taking products, so outside, if they cross the threshold, they can be put under arrest. The 8 people that I took on yesterday, 7 of them returned the items. So basically all 8 returned the items. With one, there was a problem with one of them.
So, did you arrest anybody?
No, because the store didn't wish to put citizens to arrest on. All they wanted to do was get their product back.
Now, this is what really pisses me off. The store's not pressing charges against these people. Now, I understand the frustration. I understand the fact that they don't believe that each individual case is worth it. But the thing is, this is a terrible mentality. You have to prosecute shoplifters. You have to make an example of them. If you're a store, you have to pay your employee to go to court to testify against them, because that is going to create a chilling effect for criminals when they see at least somebody being locked up. So the idea that you have this officer stationed out there and he catches 8 different shoplifters, gets them to return the items. One of them probably destroyed the item. That's probably what he was referring to right there. But none of them face criminal charges. Just goes to show you how absurd things are actually getting. Now, I would institute a law in the city of San Francisco where the police officer can go to court and testify against them. If the police officer caught them stealing the merch, you don't need them to actually press charges at the store level. You can do it at the governmental level. We have this for a bunch of different crimes. This is one of the ways that we actually started to deal with domestic violence, where if the woman would drop the charges, it was the woman in most instances. I know that women can also be domestic abusers, so those of you in the comments, shut your face. But if the woman refused to press charges because battered wife syndrome and all that, where she didn't want to or ended up forgiving the person or whatever, the state would actually intercede on behalf and remove somebody who was a danger to her and to society at large. These people are destroying the city of San Francisco. These Walgreens are closing. This chaining up of the aisle is an unsustainable model and will eventually lead to a circumstance where this store closes, just like so many others.
But Walgreens is not the only store that's been victimized by crime here. Across from it is the cigarette shop. They were burglarized a month ago. The owner said he lost over $100,000 in merchandise and cash.
Well, I hope somebody pay attention, to stop this. We can't afford it, that's a small business. We can't afford it, $100,000. Somebody came and take here, nobody do anything about it.
So again, you have somebody, obvious accent right there, appears to be of Indian or Pakistani descent or some kind of South Asian descent. And he lost $100,000 in a single break-in, and there's no consequences for the burglars. It's actually incredibly difficult to capture burglars. All you can really do is increase patrols. But the thing is, if you're not actually prosecuting these criminals, if you're not actually catching them, these are going to be repeat offenders. We've gone over this so many times on this channel that you have a criminal population. However, within that criminal population is a subset of repeat offenders who are disproportionately committing a huge chunk of the crimes. Remember, we talk about bail reform in the state of New York and how the same 10 people account for something like 500 arrests, and they keep getting repeat released over and over and over again. In terms of retail theft, the same 327 people account for a third of all shoplifting arrests. But when you don't have a criminal justice system that emphasizes incapacitation of even the most ardent repeat offenders, this is what's going to go on. When you incentivize people to steal and remove all consequences, some people who used to be afraid of consequences, and that's why they followed the law, are going to commit crimes. And even though it might seem on the margins because the criminal population is relatively small, the thing is that all adds up over time. And when all these news reports come out over and over and over again, and they show, hey, you can get away with stealing over and over and over again, guess what? More and more people are going to be tempted to do so. On top of that, we have huge drug problems in San Francisco. The open-air drug markets, the homeless people that are being propped up by the homeless industrial complex, all of those people end up stealing to get their particular fix because there's no issue with it. On top of that, as I said in the beginning, and I referenced that $8 million warehouse bust, which of course was in San Francisco, of retail merchandise, that is organized retail theft. They have moved in. They're sending in their low-level people to commit these crimes because, again, if you have no consequences for a certain aspect of criminality, you're going to see disproportionately criminals funnel their way into that.
That's really hard for us.
And 2 days before that breaking, this coffee shop across the street was also hit.
The city, mayor, or anybody, they don't do anything.
There was also a break-in at the coffee shop, and again, we've seen so many videos out of San Francisco, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but the thing is, when I went to go throw that punch at the dead horse, one of the people in San Francisco actually stole it. Like, that's how ridiculous it is, and we've been covering these stories so many times, you would think eventually they would have some change, but every once in a while, you have the local news go out to a particular store, and they don't even have to be there for more than 10 seconds. Sometimes they'll see the theft going on as they're pulling up to the location, as they're setting up the camera, because that's how bad it actually gets. Now we're going to cut to this attractive news person, Luz Pena, because, you know, why not? Why not?
I also contacted the National Retail Federation and confirmed that San Francisco and Oakland ranked number 2 in the list of top areas impacted by organized retail crime nationwide.
I want you to think about what that woman just told you. The biggest hotspots for organized retail theft, for retail theft overall, are San Francisco and Oakland, 2 cities right across the river from one another, but 2 cities that don't top the charts in other regards in terms of other kinds of criminality. Sure, things have been getting bad, specifically in Oakland as of late, because Pamela Price is the district attorney over there, and she's absolutely horrible, but specifically, California passed this state law, and their mayor and their prosecutors have been particularly woke, their police have been particularly defanged, and they have also been undercut by this recruitment shortage disproportionately to these other places, and now we're seeing the spike in retail theft just go completely crazy over there. This is exactly what we pointed out when we talked about retail theft in New York City versus right across the river, very similar population in the cities of New Jersey that are just right there. We see small spikes in retail theft whenever there's economic distress. I know somebody out there is going to be like, oh, it's the poverty. Crime is caused by poverty. But we've never seen anything like what's going on in San Francisco. We've never seen anything like what's going on in Oakland. We've never seen anything like what's going on in New York City. And that's because those places actually changed the laws. Again, look throughout our history. Look to other American cities. Look to even more devastating economic crises. What you often find, at least 50% of the time, is that crime goes down. What you'll often find is maybe you'll see a couple of percentage points, a couple of little bits of uptick in retail theft, but nothing like what we're seeing in these major cities. I talked about New York City, and those numbers are fresh in my mind, but their retail theft is up 77% since the Black Lives Matter riots. 44% increase in 2022, which is our last year of completed numbers. And according to the San Francisco Standard, that city is at all-time highs in terms of retail theft ever in the history of the city. This is not something that we can pretend away anymore. This is not something that we could ignore. And isolated pockets of San Francisco in the year-to-date numbers show 10% increases, 20% increases. And again, this could all be prevented by the city actually stepping up and doing what is necessary. And one of the tragic things about these security measures, and I referenced it earlier on in this video, is the fact that this deters people from going into the store, legitimate customers. So essentially, it's a double-edged sword when the city actually stops what it's doing, when they stop prosecuting these people. Because if you're a store, you could essentially go out of business due to the fact that you're having your merchandise stolen from you repeatedly, day after day after day. Or you could try to implement some security measures, which will scare off your legitimate customers, make them feel like it's unsafe to be in your store, and make them not want to go through the process of summoning a worker anytime they want to grab something from the freezer. I mean, just imagine what it's like. One of the wealthiest cities in the United States of America, a center of innovation, Silicon Valley, and you have to press a button in order to get an employee to unlock a chain so that you can get some milk at the store. It's absolute madness. We should not be accepting it. We have to fight back against it. And I have to say, London Breed has been coming up with some plans that are not popular among the super woke in the city of San Francisco. And I hope that she pushes forward. But more importantly, I hope that the city of San Francisco actually elects better representatives. They got rid of Chesa Boudin, but they also need to change the law at the statewide level. Where's the ballot initiative for that? That actually allows people to charge these repeat offenders who steal over and over and over again, who are trying to profit, who are part of organized retail theft operations, to the fullest extent of the law. If you just remove that core group of repeat offenders, you will be shocked about how much better things will get. If you just do the basics like that, you'll be shocked about the economic growth and the economic prosperity. I mean, one of my favorite charts, and I showed it in my last video related to San Francisco, to show you how bad things have actually gotten due to the fact that they're a car breaking capital, due to the fact that retail theft runs wild, due to the fact that even the criminals just say, well, I'm not paying for anything because it's San Francisco, is this hotel chart. This is 15 major cities across the United States of America, and as you can see, except for Chicago and San Francisco, hotel revenue is up because after the pandemic, people started going back to these tourist hotspots, these major cities and all that. Now, we know about the violence in the city of Chicago, but as you can see, the straight up violent crime that you see right there has only led to a drop of about 4% in terms of hotel revenue as compared to pre-pandemic levels. However, San Francisco, which does not have the level of violent crime that Chicago has, which by the way is more isolated in Chicago, has seen a dramatic 31% decrease in hotel occupancy revenue. People don't want to go there. And again, this is compared over the last 4 years. So this includes pre-pandemic levels. So they're down 31% as compared to 2019. It's over a 4-year stretch. So you can't even blame the pandemic for this because everywhere else has had some level of recovery. Hey guys, Editing Sean here. So after I shot this video, but before I started editing it, I noticed that our buddy Nuance Bro, friend of the channel, actually made a video on this exact same story, and I just want to recommend that video, even though we hit similar notes. Nuance Bro actually used to live in this area, shop at this Walgreens, so his video has a better personal touch, personal connection to it, and I always want to support my buddies. Plus, he's one of the prettiest Persian men that you've ever seen in your entire life. And ladies, he's single. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. Also, I did discover this other video from the city of Chicago about how their Walgreens are operating, and I gotta show you a clip of it so that way my video has a little bit of differences.
Inside this Walgreens on State and Roosevelt, right in the South Loop, the inside of the store looks like something straight out of the Jetsons. You need a card to make a payment, and if you don't see what you want here, behind this order pickup counter is a locked door full of merchandise that only an employee can get for you, but you must order and pay for it first. Back in May, Walgreens told local residents, quote, this redesigned store will have the latest in e-commerce offerings to increase customer service, mitigate theft, and increase safety for customers and employees.
So what's so amazing about this is that this is actually how Americans used to shop at all stores. You would say what items you want, and an employee would go through the aisles and get it for you. And this was the old way before stores started teaming up in order to combat retail theft that made it safe enough to allow customers to walk the aisles. That's what we're returning to. We're going back 100+ years in terms of how we do with retail, and they're starting it in Chicago in response to this insane theft. 100-year regression. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's all fine and dandy for you to think all criminals are Aladdin. It's all fine and dandy for you to think that they're innocent angels just put there by circumstances. But when you implement that into the law, you see the truth of it. And the truth of it in San Francisco is not good. And do you want to live in a city where your basic needs, eggs, milk, whatever, are locked up behind chains? You have to summon an employee to go there? Do you want to see retail space, office after office, be completely closed down as rents are incredibly high in the city of San Francisco? Do you want to see small businesses just completely wiped off the face of the map just because you don't want to have the police do what is necessary to maintain order? San Franciscans have to want better for themselves. They have to advocate for changes in policy. They have to be like this guy who talked about how he confronted a bunch of different shoplifters because he's sick of the decay of his city. They have to be like the San Francisco Batman. Gotta keep it real. Even though I don't support that guy because I think he's going to end up getting seriously hurt, I support the spirit, which is, of course, when the system falls apart, you try to maintain order in some way, shape, or form. But the thing is, I can only talk about it so many times. I can only highlight these instances so much. The people of San Francisco need to do something about it. They need to step up. They need to demand change. And the state of California as well needs to do something too. That law where anything under $950 is automatically, no matter what, going to be a misdemeanor, which by the way is not too dissimilar from other laws in this country, but it also incentivizes never charging repeat offenders. It has to go. It has to be changed. It has to be altered to address the circumstances on the ground. But hey, Those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social media. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about retail theft in San Francisco yet again. Till next time.